What's up, this is Brandon Smitley. Bring you a quick video today talking about how to track your PR. So something I get asked quite a bit is how do I keep track of all my PRs whenever I'm running like a conjugate-like layout, and all the different variations and bands and chains and things of that nature. So I'm going to cover how I keep track of all that stuff, and it's really, really simple. I think it's not, you don't want to overanalyze it. This video might be a little bit long to kind of discuss how I um, use all this to my advantage, but um, just bear with me and hopefully you can take something away from this. So just to make things really simple here, I've got my Google Sheets open. It's just an aspect of Google Docs and having a Google account. So that's the first thing you need to do, just make sure you have a Google account, Gmail, email. Once you do that, you can just basically come over here from your, if you let's actually go to my, I'm not going to actually open my email. I take that back. But if you go to your email, there's a little like tab over here, and then it gives you some options. You go down, and then as you can see, there's some pretty much this is what you're gonna kind of see, and it's gonna load all your stuff up. I think you'll go to that sheet, and there it is. To make it, you'll basically just make a really simple spreadsheet. I mean, it's really not that hard. It doesn't require any kind of crazy Excel knowledge. You know, in your first column, you're gonna put the name of your lift. And then in the other columns across the top, you're just going to denote your PRs 1 through 12, or if you want to go up to 50, have at it. But usually 1 through 12 is going to be about as high as you need to get, and that's why I've got the 13 plus to cover everything else that doesn't hardly ever get touched. And then you can get fancy with your color schemes and how you want to organize it. To me, it's color schemed out mainly from an organizational standpoint more than anything else. Over here on the right-hand side, I keep track of my actual competition PRs. I know these by heart, but just so they're actually in a solid place and they're actually enrooted somewhere, so I see them all the time and can track things. So, I squat, bench, my deadlift in both stances, and my total, and then my multiply bench press because it's the only equipped thing that I've done so far. What I've hit, when I hit them, and what weight class I hit them in. You could get a little more specific in like what I weighed in and all that kind of stuff. I do have that data elsewhere, but to me that's a little too specific for this actual sheet. Now as for the PRs, the way I have things laid out, again, really simple. Over here on the left in the orange, this is all my bench press variations. Here's my close grip bench press variations, my squat variations, which is the biggest, and then my deadlift variations. And these deadlift variations also include things like good mornings, pin pulls, block pulls, RDLs, more hinge-like based movements. Squats are only squats. Close grip bench press, for me, that means that the index finger is on the smooth and basically the middle finger is on the knurling, unless it denotes otherwise, but everything else is pretty straightforward. Down here you'll see there's overhead press and some JM press, again tricep dominant, and then overhead press. I just don't really want to put that in my bench press area since it is more of a supplemental based movement compared to the competition lift, so I lump that down here as well. And then my actual bench press, this means a competition grip, which is usually either the pinky on the ring or the ring finger on the ring. It does depend a little bit from meet cycle to meet cycle and how my body is feeling, but it never varies more than that. I mean, that's maybe 1/4 of an inch, so I at least know that. And then there's also, unless it says otherwise, there's some wide grip stuff, some medium grip stuff, and then the Swiss bar. For me, the Swiss bar, if it just says Swiss bar, that means it's the medium handles. If it says close grip Swiss bar, like down here, that means the closest handles. And if it's the wide grip Swiss bar, then you'll see that means it's the widest handle on that bar. Again, pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy yet so far. Over here on the right, part of this, you're going to see the rep maxes. So the 1 through 12 and the 13 plus, and then the numbers, and it basically obviously denotes with the lift. So, you just go over, there's my 3 rep max, and then a note thing pops up. That's the important part, I think, of this whole concept. Yes, it's important to know what you hit for 5 with a one board, or how your floor press relates to your bench press. That's easy to see, and that's a very important trend to pick up on. That's going to make you a better lifter, strength athlete, whatever you're doing that you want to track all this. But the other thing is it's got the date of when you hit it, and then that lets you track dates over time. But then you can also use those dates to find training logs, training videos, trends in time, how that lift maybe affected some of the lifts over here. And you can also add other notes to this section, whatever you want to add, you certainly can. So for example, one that I saw earlier was this one. On my one board, I've hit 335 for 2, and that was December 6, 2015, so that looks like it was probably getting ready for the Arnold. And I missed my third rep with 335 on that. That's very important to know because next time I go back to a one board, I'm obviously going to want to make sure that I try to maybe get that for 3 reps if I get up to that for a max effort or supplemental movement, because here's 325 for 3. So obviously, to be safe, I probably do want to take 330 for a triple here to ensure a good solid PR. And then from there, it can kind of vary from how I feel. But the key thing is to make sure that you're trying to break those PRs on each one and that that date is recorded. And to do that, let's just use this as an example. Bench press versus double mini bands, 11 rep max. I don't know, but let's say you basically are going to go to your insert tab, you're going to go to note, and then you would just say today's date's the 12th, and so that would put that in there, and then you would obviously just type in, and let's say 205. So then I know that on this particular day that I hit 205 for 11 on my bench press versus doubled mini bands on that date. But since I didn't do that, we're obviously going to delete that. But that at least shows you how simple this process is. It's not a difficult thing. Even to just clear things out is really easy. The reason I want to talk about the dates and that stuff is for the videos and training log aspect. So hitting that date or even looking up prior before a training session of when that date was, for example, this date here, if I wanted to go try to find this date, June 7th, 2015, for that reverse mini band bench press where it was choked, this I would just go to my YouTube channel and then I would again look up that date. Granted, I would have to scroll a long time to find that for this particular session, considering how many videos I have of almost 700. Then you would essentially watch that the day before, a couple of days before, and see what kind of technical flaws you had and how you can improve upon those, and use those technical aspects to determine whether you can hit a PR, how you can use that to help you hit a PR, and maybe something went wrong. The reason I like to use my YouTube channel for my training sessions is so I can say how I feel and what went on, because chances are, I don't remember what I did 2 years ago. I don't remember how I felt. I don't know what my RP was. All I know from this is that I hit that. I can't remember where I was now. All I know is that I hit that 300 for a set of 7. And that 300 for set of 7 could have been a good day or it could have been a bad day. I don't know. Now you can keep track of that down here as well if you don't want to do any kind of video or train log stuff. But I think that being able to do some kind of log RP is important. You can put the RP here. I just don't do that because I do all the video stuff. I'd much rather watch and listen to myself a day or two prior if I have the opportunity to. Also with that also lets me go back and find that training log over on Elite FTS. This is not the same one, but this is just an example that, I wanted to find my September 3rd training log. I can find that very easily if we go back to prove how this is easy and why this all works. Is because all my training sessions have the date listed on them. That is why my date is on my Elite FTS training log. It is not there to tell you that I trained on September 1st. I really don't care if you know that I trained on September 1st. I care that I know that I trained on September 1st. And so I can go back and easily find that training log, because you also see is that my training log is never posted on very rarely on the same day that I actually trained. The sheer fact that I've actually got to do that training log, actually I do that training, which for me is usually around anywhere from 3 to 5 o'clock, and perform that training, and then I have to write up the training log, pictures, make a video, or actually write it down, link some things. I put some time into my training logs for the people that opt to view them, not only so that you can benefit from learning, watching me train, but anything that might be on here, an easy way to contact me if you so desire. Um, and then also, if you like, man, I really like that Brandon used those mini bands. Where can I get those mini bands? Right there. Just click on the link. And then you can actually see how I warm up to that weight, besides me talking over. So, I mean, there are multiple resources within that training log for the viewers to enjoy, but it's also for me as well because I know what I used, what I did, and how it felt. Um, as a normal trainee that may not have access to something like that. So, I mean, I'm very fortunate and thankful to have a log on Elite FTS. It's a very beneficial aspect to me, I believe, as well as the people that opt to look at my training logs. But you can make something just as simple on WordPress. Um, I can definitely show you an example by just going to my website, and by doing that, you can see that I've set up some training logs for some Purdue kids. So if you go to education and then you go to training logs, then you can see mine that just bounces to Elite FTS. And then Anthony Fontana and Josh Lytell are two guys that I coach from Purdue Barbell that opted to have a training log on my website. I don't make them do that. It's something they wanted to do. They wanted to have a place to keep track of stuff and do something similar that I do. So I give them that platform to do so as they so desire. So something to think about. This is my website is essentially ran through WordPress. As you can see, it looks pretty clean. It's not like anything amazing, but it's very simple and it's very easy to use on the back end in terms of making something that you're wanting to do to track stuff. So, to cover things really quickly, as a brief synopsis, basically just get it doesn't have to be even Google. You can use Excel, but Google for me just makes sense because of phones, laptops. As long as I have internet access on my phone, I can access this PR sheet anywhere. So if I go train at Elite FTS or Westside, or I've been to Lord Phelps's place, or if I go to Matt Ladusky's place or wherever, I can look up those PRs right then and there and not have to worry about like, man, I wonder what I hit, or carry on a notebook, or things like that. Technology today makes things really simple, thank goodness, and so that you can use this towards your advantage. Be specific with how you lift your movements. Like some of these say my bands are choked and other ones say they're not. I know what that difference means if it's not there and then once it's choked. I know that changes the band tension and that changes the numbers, and you can clearly see that the 340 and 325, and this is actually more recent than this one. So I'm obviously getting more band assistance from the choked than I am the regular. So something to keep in mind of how you set things up and make sure it's consistent from exercise to exercise, and you'll be okay. You'll see that general trend. The other thing is, while you're looking at your information over time, begin to denote how weights look and feel in terms of organization. So I've got more of my competition-based stuff up here, and then it gets a little more deviant down here. As you can see, most of my weights are towards the top. They're not all specific, but they're all moderately specific, right? And then we see that there's a lot of numbers right here, so that probably means that's stuff that I need to work on a lot more of, and I get a lot more carry out of. Down here, there's a lot less stuff, probably not as much, a little more variation, and I'm probably not getting as much carryover out of these things. And same thing here. You can see it across the board that most of them are at the top, or even here, like more is around like the sumo, because I started pulling sumo now. But my conventional stuff isn't that big, and neither is like my good mornings and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's building a lot of this stuff, so there shouldn't be as much information available. But you should be able to see those trends and how they affect each other. Once you've got that figured out, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Plug and chug over time. Pay attention to your trends. Make sure that you look up days beforehand what your PRs are. Think about that stuff. That way you can attempt to break PRs and then something. Basically, for my rule of thumb is if there's nothing there, anything's a PR. You could technically get a rep max calculator if you wanted to take the time and figure out, well, I hit 285 for 10 and 300 for 7. Which one's better? Calculate it out, and then figure out how am I going to get a 9 or an 8 rep max, and make that better than, say, one of these two, whichever one's the best. So, obviously, if I wanted to hit an 8 rep max that day, I should probably just go for 300, try to add one more rep on to that. That would technically be a PR. So, pretty simple stuff, but hopefully it's something that helps you guys out when it comes to not only just your training but tracking, keeping things easy. I'm very analytical the way I kind of look at things and track stuff, even from food and training and all that kind of stuff. That something like this makes it really easy. It's a free resource. It's just going to take that initial 30 to 40 minutes to set it up. Maybe go back through like a year's worth of training logs over the course of a week and just plug some of these numbers and dates in, so you can begin to have a little bit of a trend rather than just saying I'm going to start today. Well, if you've been keeping track of your training long enough, you should be able to go back and find some of these. I mean, some of mine that do not have numbers, I actually found in older notebooks, but I just, for some reason, didn't have the date, or I couldn't remember, or, something like that. But there are some in here that do not have notes. So um, that's all I've got. If you got any questions, just leave them in the comment section. Again, I'm not going to be able to share this because it's mine. I'm not going to give access to somebody to have access to my PR sheet, but again, it's very simple. If you have any questions about that, just let me know and I can walk you through it, or you can share your sheet with me if you want, and I can go in and help you make some adjustments to clean it up. If you have any suggestions on how to fix this, just let me know, and I'll make sure I do something to help my own PR sheet as well. But thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps you hit some PRs in the future, and you can keep up with all of my powerlifting and training stuff over at elitefts.com.